in the community at some point. At some point, Channel 6 News did a wonderful story, and you can go find it on Granny Sweet and her Barbie doll clothes. She was a lady who, if I was sick for some reason and mom couldn't stay at home with me, I can remember going to Granny Sweet several times, and she would make you feel very cared for.
That's part of, is that part of growing up in a small community or a small community of Cherokees?
Well, the Sweets are Cherokee as well. And as a child, I didn't really distinguish whether they were Cherokee or not, honestly. But as I've grown, we've all come to recognize that we are. And I'm not sure where one meets and where one ends in a small town. When
did you first really realize your Cherokee heritage?
Again, I think I always knew it because of the stories told. My grandmother was always very adamant that we understood that we were. Not that that made us special, but rather that it made us part of a special community of people. She was very much believed that. She was her grandfather was known as Greenbrier Joe Martin. And Greenbrier Joe Martin had rivaled Clem Rogers as far as ranching. He had a ranch in the Saline district of the Cherokee Nation that had 100,000 acre control during his years. And so that was her grandfather. So her great-grandfather was the first Supreme Court Justice of the Cherokee Nation, John Martin. And that was during the time when the Cherokee Nation formed a more formal governance in the early 1800s in order to govern in the world that they were forced to govern in, the world where the United States was the preeminent force of the country. And they had changed their form of governance into a tripart form of government with 3 branches, and they created the formal court system. So he was their very first judge during that. And my grandma was very proud to descend from Joe Martin, and she always let us know that we descended from Cherokee leadership. And when you think about Cherokee culture, people oftentimes think that means some of the arts and maybe so forth. But with my grandma, we came to understand Cherokee culture was one of serving your community. That was part of the Cherokee culture, was the servant part of that Cherokees were expected to serve their community.
Don't you think it was that way in the beginning with most of the families?
Oh yeah.
And then it evolved into the other part that.
I think after the statehood and the allotment and the assimilation efforts, there was a great deal to do away with the cultural benchmarks of the Cherokee people during that period of time. And I'm very grateful of the efforts and the resources that have been put together so that we don't lose those things, those very important parts of who we are, and those things that make you specifically a Cherokee and Native American. The one thing we did not lose during the period where they were, where the federal government and society at large was working so hard to assimilate everybody, was we did not lose our belief that governance, self-governance, was the right of the Cherokee people. And it took us most of 70 years to regain it after statehood before the early 1970s, when we finally had it returned. But we never lost the knowledge that it was inherently the way things should be.
Let's move to another time in your life whenever and I wanted to ask you, where did your family come from? Where did they come from to the Cherokee Nation or to
Okay.
this